Hello, and welcome to our third tutorial in our series about MBX. In our previous tutorials, we talked about using and installing standalone MBX. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to install MBX as an official plugin for LAMMPS. First, we need to talk about the requirements necessary to compile MBX and LAMMPS. This tutorial will assume that you are using a Linux-based system, such as a supercomputer or a Linux workstation that you have. In order to compile, we need a compiler such as G++ or an Intel version such as ICPX. We will also need FFTW libraries installed on your system. The biggest mistake that people make during this compilation is forgetting one of these requirements, such as forgetting to load FFTW. Optionally, you can also use an MPI version of your compiler if you want to use MPI in LAMMPS. An MPI compiler is like MPI CXX or MPI ICPX. Okay, now that we are sure we have these requirements installed, we can proceed with the next step. Okay, so the next step is to use git clone in order to download LAMMPS. So I'm going to type git clone, and then I'm going to paste the URL for the LAMMPS GitHub repository. And then next I'm going to type B and select the release branch, which will work in most cases. LAMMPS does have a few options for other branches depending on your needs, but in most cases, the release branch is the best option. All right, I'll hit enter. Okay, it looks like the download has finished. Okay, so now that we have downloaded LAMMPS using git clone, for the most part, we're going to follow a standard LAMMPS installation. So first, I'm going to cd into this LAMMPS directory, and then we're going to use CMake in order to configure and then build this. So we're going to do CMake, and then we're going to use capital S to set the main source directory as CMake, and capital B for the build directory. So if we ran it as is, this would just do a basic LAMMPS build. However, we usually want to add some extra packages, including MBX. So first, I'm going to use -C in order to add the CMake preset basic. So this will add some basic packages. And then I'm going to define package underscore MBX equals yes. So this will tell CMake to also install the MBX package. By default, CMake will try to pick the best settings automatically. However, if you want to do anything specifically, there are lots of options you can choose from as specified in the LAMMPS documentation. For example, if you want to control MPI specifically or OpenMP, you can turn them on or off here. And if you want to use a different compiler than the system default, you can use these commands to explicitly set the compiler. Anyways, I hit enter, and then CMake will now look through, try to see that your compiler is working. And it said here, let me scroll up a bit, since it did not detect MBX, it's going to automatically download and install MBX for you. Okay, and now in order to actually run the build, we're going to do CMake --build. So we're going to tell it to build the build directory. And then since I have enough RAM on this system, I'm going to do parallel. And I'm going to set it to 2. If you have, so I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. If you're on a system that's more powerful and has more RAM, you can definitely use a higher value. All right, so we're good to go, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, after waiting quite a while, the compilation has now finished, and we can now take a look at this build folder that we did the compile in. So if you do an ls, you can see here that there is a new lamps executable, and that executable contains lamps plus MBX plus whatever other packages that you enabled. And to do a quick test, we're just going to do LMP, to call the executable, and then -h so it can show us the usage options. And this is a quick test that, yes, this is the lamps executable, and since there were no errors, this means the compilation worked successfully. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Today, we successfully compiled and installed MBX as a plugin to LAMPS. In our next tutorial, we will briefly show you how to use this executable in order to run MBX simulations with LAMPS on our examples. For more information, check out our page in the LAMPS documentation or check out our website mbxsimulations.com. If you have any questions that aren't answered there, please send a message to us on our Google groups so we can help you. Thanks for watching, and of course, happy simulating!